ladies and gentlemen, we have a guy here. He's moving up to, I know him a while back. I know his dad fairly well. I'll ask you to introduce yourself and let the public know your background and where you're at now.
Thank you so much, Alvin. I really appreciate you having me here today on the show. Caribbean Stars. It's really great to at least even be called among some of the greats from our community who have really helped to build, our community soccer and have provided pathways for many like myself and many of my generation to be a part of the game and to be able to get to where we are today. So as they say, many of us will see much further. We're standing on the shoulders of our elders. That's how I look at it. So for me, my start in football was from young. It's interesting. I mean, I don't want to keep telling the same story over and over because I'm doing a few interviews these days and people get bored hearing the same story. But I
All
started
right, so I'll try to help you then. I'll
Yeah,
try
there you go. Yeah.
with the
So
little familiarity, but yeah,
yeah,
it's good that you said that. Yeah.
yeah. So I started playing from young, house league as a kid. But my dad was always very instrumental because my dad was big into cricket from back home in Trinidad, right? And he went to St. Benedict's College. So, he was never really a good cricket player or soccer player, but he loved the game because, that's what we do back home down in Trinidad. And we grew up around my dad around the game. So he loved to be a manager. He always managed teams because he loved the game so much, wanted to be around the game. So because he couldn't play, and he wasn't that good at playing the game, he would always help to manage. So when we moved to Canada in the early 70s, he was a coach and manager. He didn't want to be the head coach. He just liked to help manage, which, you see people serve in that capacity nowadays, right? So I grew up playing for a youth club called Maple Leaf Soccer, where a lot of my friends play with me. My dad, he wasn't the head coach there. He was a manager. We had a guy named Vernon Seaburn as the head coach, and we were winning up everything. We played for Maple Leaf. We bust up Malvern, and bust up, St. Andrews and Gilwood and all that stuff. But it's funny because back then Malvern wasn't known as a black community; it was really a white community. So it's interesting to see throughout time how the communities change. But back then we had the team, and then Vern moved off to the States, and then we had Henry Lou come take over the team, and then my dad was still managing, but then my younger brother started growing up, and then he started to manage hit my brother's team. So that team was actually under Malvern now, where he created a team in Malvern, and they went on to win lots of stuff. So
So
from
your young brother is I just learned a few days ago there are two brothers, is that correct?
Yes, I have an older brother and a
I
younger
only,
brother.
I only learned that a couple of days ago,
Yeah,
Paul.
yeah. So look at that. Hey, sometimes we pass each other in football,
Yeah.
life and community, and sometimes we
What's
don't
the
even
name
check
of your
on home.
older brother
And he passed away unfortunately a few years back. His name was Franz Martin. He got into refereeing too because of my dad. So after the managing of football, in the sense, my dad got a lot into refereeing next and started to then really help to mentor. My dad was a big mentor in terms of helping people in the community. So for me, I started refereeing at 13 years of age up in the old the Scarborough Caribbean League up at Bethune and off of Warden Road there near in the back, the two big fields in the back there. At 13 years of age, running the line for the big men, getting cussed and
So,
getting tossed
so
out and
for
stuff.
the Caribbean history, not costing you, who was running that league? I want to make sure we have that files and the public getting the files from you too. Who was running that league?
Yeah, that was Lee Boudram. Ran for years. We had all the teams. We had Crack Shots. We had Tringo. We had, my memory's failing me now, but they had about at least 8 to 10 teams in the league, and them guys could play ball, man. So for me, being this little young guy, and them guys are treating you hard on the line, and you got to get your calls right, and them guys, like we don't see no, but them guys like to dally. Them guys want to take on man and chip ball and pull back, and the crowd is down the whole sideline cheering, and them guys sit down drinking whole day after the game and eating nuts. So for me, that's how I grew up. I grew up around the football field, and every Saturday, Sunday, we were there whole day from first thing in the morning till at night, hanging out. That was our hangout on weekends. So you don't have time to do your own thing. And so as you get old enough now, you're playing your soccer, but your dad's like, come make some money refereeing. You get a little bit of money to referee. Nothing big, but for a 13, 14-year-old kid, you make some good money. So when I turned 16, I went and did my referee license, and I passed with a 99%. So because
Hold
again,
on.
easy for me.
What you referee? So you're into the money now, or let's be straight up, the money or the passion for the game?
Well, both, because hey, if you're getting paid, it wasn't big money back then. Back then, you're working, you get a job at 16. I got a job. The minimum wage was $2.85 an hour, right? So and I got a job at Seneca. I got lucky because my uncle was working at Seneca, and he got me a job in housekeeping. So as a young guy, I got to work there. I wasn't supposed to work in the 15, 16, working at the college, but I was being paid at this $3.15 an hour. Woohoo! Big
Oh
money,
yeah,
250 an
yeah.
hour, you know.
I saw
So,
it was made put to good use.
yeah, so back then that was part of the football. Yeah, you're making money for a lot of us. You know, it's good to make some money refereeing. That's why we enjoy. We want to be there, but at the same point, we're there too for the love of the game, right? You know, and the community. Like I said, you come and hang out, and you're getting fed all day. You don't have to go and buy food. You're getting drinks. You know what I mean? You're getting a little as a young referee, you get a little change in your pocket. So it was a good way to be around the game, growing up around the game, and loving the game, right? You
So
know, so
I don't want to keep the public too much in suspense. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy here has just been given an appointment, and I just want you to understand that you're looking at the person that's starting the Black Coaches of Canada. So just in case you get in the foundation, how he come up, and I'm going to ask him all the little intriguing part of where the passion came from, because this is a guy that has a lot of ability. So let's go back to the refereeing. When you're
yes.
doing the refereeing and you're doing the Seneca now, what's the passion, what's the drive like? You're still playing, you're refereeing, and
Yeah.
you're working.
Yep.
So how is the passion working for you now?
Well, that was the thing. It was difficult because you're doing so much at once. I think that becomes part of my character as to why I do what I do now. And you know, as you got older throughout the high school years, you know, and you know, back then we heard about scholarship, and you get into scholarship. So I used to hop on a bus and take a bus from Toronto to Buffalo, Buffalo to New York, or Buffalo down to Pittsburgh, down to Philadelphia. And there's no daddy, mommy around. That's you alone on a bus, Greyhound, and you're transferring from Toronto to Windsor to Detroit to go and try and get in some tournaments. And then you know, that was a part of that scholarship process, right? So back then there's no email. You're writing letters, you're calling the coach, you're going down for visits, right? So you know, a lot of us went through that
So
time.
those are showcase visits you're going for now. You showcase
Showcase
in your town.
tournaments.
Okay.
Yeah, not even a showcase per se. Sometimes it's just a tournament. So all those high school years, you know, the passion grew in love in me. But at the same point in time, I was a bit dejected because when I reached under 15, under 16 now, which, you know, the quintessential age, a lot of my friends who were on that team, we had a nice championship team, went on to win, you know, some good stuff. We never won Ontario Cup or Nationals, but we came close, getting knocked out on Ontario Cups and stuff. But, you know, at 15, 16, I didn't grow. I was still very small. So I got cut, right? And then I went and tried out for North York Cosmos, and that was you know, Mr. Devnish, another Black Trinidadian from the community, is another community guy. You know, that's where I got to meet and play with Daryl Devonish and McIver and some of those guys, the North York Cosmos guys, right? So back then, coming up to that age, it was Maple Leaf and Cosmos was the two big kind of, you know, adversaries, right? But I got cut because I was small. So I went and tried for Cosmos, got cut there, and I went and played for the last place team, St. Andrews. And we tail bus every game, right? But
But you
eventually,
got your sweat.
that's the thing. You get your sweat, and you learn to lose and not to like it. So you want to win now. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
then, you know, I was a bit dejected. Didn't like the team. Was going to stop playing football. And then Malvern had just created a men's team, right? So I'm a small guy, just starting to catch my growth spurt. Now that year, I grew from 5 foot to like 5'9". You know, of course, you get bigger now, and things start changing for you. But then also, you know, a guy named, I don't know if you remember, Wayne and Rocky and
Black.
all the Clacky family, them, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so Wayne and saw me playing a game. He said, "Hey boy, you could play some ball. You're small, but come and play with us at the men's team. We have an MJ men's team." So MJ, I don't know about that. So, anyways, didn't want to go, but ended up playing for them, and we won the league that year. You know, it was
Was
called
that
Malvern Science.
Science?
There you go, Malvern Science. Yeah,
Yeah.
played for them
Okay.
for 2-3 years before the team fell apart. 3 years, but we had a real good team. A lot of guys from the community playing ball and coming together as a community. You know, so it was a good couple of years, but it helped me to grow really fast. Started to play men's ball. Back then, I wasn't into a lot of guys. You know, went on to try and play CSL, NSL, trial for links, all them stuff. But that wasn't my pathway. I mean, I was a bit older than some of the guys he came up after that. But you know, I wasn't thinking that way. It was just more. You know, I was actually even going to drop out of soccer completely. That was a kind of attempt to bring me back into the game. I was still refereeing, but
okay. So now you're off for science now. What happened after science?
I was refereeing too, and I gotten to what they call provincial, but it's different stage back then, level 1, level 2, level 3. And I had an episode that's kind of a bit, you know, well, whatever is you want to call it, a bunch of old English guys that want to talk to me in such a way and belittle me, put me down and stuff, whatever. And then, you know, that didn't turn out so well. So I just said, I'm done with refereeing. I was actually doing Ontario Cups at the time, Ontario Cup semifinals and Ontario Cup finals, Robbie finals. You know, I was that good referee at 19. I was a top referee. top referee in the province, right? And I grew up under some real good mentors and refereeing guys like Ian Cardy and Don Pierce and Gordy
And
did
you,
the
and you,
good
and
stuff.
you carrying the Martin brand too.
There you go. And so my dad was big in refereeing too as well. So then they come to me and say, you have to make a decision. Either you're going to play or you're going to referee. You can't referee and play. I said, why is that? Because you can't referee at the top levels if you're going to play at the top levels. Back then it was OSL provincial, OSL regional.
It
So
make a little conflict sense, yes.
yeah. So they say you can't do both. You have to pick one or whatever. So I said, well, I ain't going to referee and I'm going to go with the football and play and trying to get my scholarship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get scholarships and I was all over the place, taking all them bus route, but I got into a car accident and I had a back injury, neck injury. So I had to take a little time off. So I missed that window of when you get your scholarships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I kind of heal up now and stuff. And so it was a kind of late, but April, May. So I said, well, this summer coming up, I'm going to join as many teams as I can to try and get some scholarships. So that's when Malvern Science, we went down to the Bob Marley Memorial Tournament down in Washington, D.C. Took my girlfriend. We drove 14 hours down to Washington, right?
Okay.
To go to the tournament. And we played in that tournament. And the coach from Howard saw me there and liked me and offered me a scholarship, but it was only a few $1,000s. It was a partial. And then I said, I'm going to come back. There was another tournament in 2 weeks to see if I could get some more money and stuff like that. I came back with Scarborough Zuri to play in the Potomac tournament. We played in that tournament as well. And then I got a couple more offers from some DC schools. George Washington U offered me a scholarship, but again, big money back then. And, the Canadian dollar wasn't good as 60 cents on the dollar, right? So I didn't end up going. And I took another year to try. I took a gap year off. Back then we had grade 13, right? So now you're even older. So I took a year off. Now I'm, 1 year older again, because it's not like it's grade 12. And I took that year to search for scholarships. I got a lot of partials, but again, no full offer. I had a partial offer to go to West Virginia. I was supposed to go, but then something happened, with some stuff and it didn't work out. And then I also had one for, it was a whole bunch of schools. Let me see, check my memory. One for Crichton University. I had one for them, but again, a lot of partials.
So what's driving you? You're looking for scholarships, so you're looking for your tuition.
Ball.
You're looking tuition free. You're looking for full scholarship, yes. Right?
Well, at the time too, I kind of had fallen out with my dad. We weren't getting along. My dad had remarried, so I was, and then I had moved out and living on my own, and I moved with my grandmother. So I didn't have any money, didn't have any backing. So I have to hustle if I want to get to.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I had good grades. But and it was tough that year because you're trying to juggle. So I'm working a full-time job, going to school, playing football, and searching for a scholarship. And on top of that, I was working 2 and 3 jobs. I went to school in the day, I worked evening, and then I worked night shift, and I went back to school again in the next day. And then on weekends, I worked another job.
I'm afraid to ask this, because this could take up a lot of time. So where did the computer and the IT and thing come in? Because we're going to keep it towards the soccer / football.
Yeah.
But I know your IT credentials are pretty good.
It's funny. I'm self-taught, self-learned. I put a lot of time in. My old mentor, when I got into comic books, that's another story. I was in the comic book industry for about 8 to 10 years. My mentor, Arvell Jones, was one of the first Black men to be hired by Marvel Comics, and he ushered in what they call a Black Age, getting a lot of people, Black and white, into the industry, working for Marvel and DC. And so I'm like him. He always says, I'm a real fast study. I learn quick, and I really, engulf myself in something. So the passion for me is once I like something, I engulf myself in it.
What's the timeline on that? What's your age? Within that time, you're looking for your scholarship. When did that come in? Because I think a lot of people know you with that type of ability.
Right. That actually developed later. So this time frame I'm talking about, the comics and the IT, started towards my end of university. But what I was talking about is up to my time in university. And then in university,
so you actually did go to university?
Yes. So what ended up happening was my looking for scholarships at the time. I was still waiting. I applied to UFT. I applied to my 3 schools: UFT, McMaster, and Western, if I remember correctly. So going into university, I applied to all these schools, and I got into all of them, but I didn't know where I wanted to go. Then my mom said, well, hey, she just had gotten married, and her husband was a professor at the University of Windsor, so I could go to school in Windsor and get free education. I said, hey, that's great. It's come like a scholarship. So I went to school there, and I didn't play ball the first year. So now at least I'm like 2-3 years older, because, you come out from grade 13. I took a gap year, and I didn't play ball first year. So I'm actually like a second year player. So somebody had saw me playing extramural soccer and said, hey, come on, try out for the soccer team. We got a good team. I said, I don't want to play for the team. I hear they're not that good. Well, they're doing okay this year. They're starting to revamp up and get good. and they're looking to get ranked and go further. So I went and tried out and as a walk-on, made the team and started almost every game across 4 years. Back then we used to play 22 games in a season, not like now. You had like 10, 11 teams, you play everybody twice plus playoffs. So you're talking at least 4 or 5 years, 22 games a season. That's over 100, easily over 100 games I played. And I started in every game except for 2 games. One game because I got a red card, a handball to try and make us win a game. That was before they had the rules now on red card and stuff. And it really bummed me because I missed the game the next day against Laurier. And there was like 4 players from Laurier. Lyndon Hooper was playing for the team back then too as well. And so we beat them both times, home and away we beat them. And the Canadian national coach back then, Lenarduzzi, had come out to watch our game and I had to sit the bench. So I was vexed because I get a red card for handing the ball and I had to sit the bench. And on top of that, now I didn't get to play in the game where the Canadian coach was watching,
Oh,
so that's part of it. That's, to show you how they used to do things back then, scouting and looking at the players and stuff. A lot of the players back then played for UFT and for Laurier. Those are the big 2 schools, and we were just coming up in Windsor at the time. So I was fortunate that I got a lot of write-ups in the paper as being a young rookie. But again, I was a little bit more older and skilled as a new rookie walk-on. So they kept writing me up in the papers. I have a lot of those clips to this day. I can share some of those things with you and show you. But it was kind of nice because being in a smaller town and in those places, it's not like you're trying to compete for media in Toronto. They cover the university sports.
That's good to get that kind of attention because it builds your confidence.
All-Star that year, I was 1 point off, but they only put how many per team. And then we were ranked 7th in Canada, but we ended up losing in playoffs back to that same Laurier.
You have a lot now to deliver in terms of, I know you passed through GS.
Yeah. Well, let me finish with that quickly. I'll tell you. So really quickly. So I ended up playing a game in the States for the college team. And then the coach from Eastern Michigan saw me and offered me a full scholarship. Right. So I want to tell the kids out there, people think scholarship is done. Well, I didn't make it the first year. I went and I got a bunch of them the year after taking a gap year. I still didn't make it that year. In my second year, I had a coach offer me a full ride. But I didn't take it because my wife had come down to live with me at the time, my girlfriend, but not my wife. And she said, "You're going to go to school where?" So we were going to school at Windsor, both of us, and used to go into the computer lab and spend all kinds of hours of the night, writing up your papers. Used to always be in the labs and hanging out in the student center and whatnot. But the issue was we couldn't afford a computer, so she asked her mom and dad to buy her a computer. So they bought us a computer and shipped it down to us back. That's how I started first getting into the IT and learning computers. And then me and my brother-in-law, well, my girlfriend's brother at the time, we started a computer company called High Profile. We were going to do computer IT repair. So when I moved back home for the summer, doing, playing the soccer and, trying to do a little bit of refereeing, and he was learning some IT stuff. So we started a little bit of IT consulting, helping out people with their computers and stuff, break and fix and whatever. We called the company High Profile. And then after a few years, he said, "Well, I don't want to do the IT thing anymore. I'm going to get more into some other stuff, video and graphics, which is what he's in now." And I said, "Well, I'm going to keep the company name." Right? He said, "Okay, fine." He created a new name. So the name High Profile, just as you see it there, that's what the name was. Actually started as a computer company.
Yeah. Okay.
It was no football company, right?
Well, that's good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to narrow this down with this guy. So I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to try. So
yeah, for sure.
Always bring GS because I want to make sure we stay within the pendulum,
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's interesting because I was playing in Windsor back then. Like the coaches say, you wanted the team to get better and win. You had to stay for the summer. So I stayed for the first couple of summers. 1 or 2 summers I came back to Toronto. But one summer I played for Scarborough's, North York Hearts of Zurich. And then, next summer I stayed and played for Windsor. And then all the guys were playing for the Windsor Croatia team or the Windsor Stars team. But I didn't play because, again, my wife didn't want me traveling all over the place. And then when I finished school, I said, "Hey, I want to play at a higher level because I missed it all the time. I'm going to go and play for Detroit Wheels." The team had just closed up shop and moved from Windsor Wheels over to Detroit Wheels. So I played for that season, not the whole season, but, most of the season before I moved back. And I made the reserve team.
What was that?
That was USISL. So it's like a USL Division 2, right? So I played for the team that summer in the reserve team, whatever. But then in the middle of the summer, going towards the end, whatever, my wife and I, we were getting married, so we decided to move back to Toronto. So I moved back to Toronto, didn't have a team. Wayne Morgan said, "Hey, we're starting up a team in the bottom MJ." I said, "I'm playing no MJ ball. You're crazy. I'm playing provincial or semi-pro." He said, No, man. Come, we're going to do some good stuff. We're going to start at the bottom and win our way up. So yeah, but that take too long. I don't want to bother with that. He said, "Just come out for a trial session and see what's going on." So I said, "Okay, fine, I'll come up." But I had no intention of playing for GS. Who's a GS? I talked to my brother. He had played for them in some indoor before. They were largely part of the Indian community, Sikh community Gursik Sabah, and the name GS stands for All God's Children. So I went there and saw the guys. I liked the guys. I met Uncle Dave. I like Uncle Dave. And Wayne said, come and play. So we're going to recruit some guys. I met Sadri and Ricky and all those guys and Marky and Gilles. And, we had a very multicultural team again. So it really kind of fit with me how it was, because the team was really multicultural. It wasn't only about black guys or Indian guys. It was kind of like all the guys. Like I said, the colored rainbow kind of thing, So, so I played with them that summer. We did well. We won the league. And we were saying to Uncle Dave that, hey, we want to get some stuff. And, people back then it was about, you get a pair of boots or a tracksuit or whatever. Uncle Dave had a little bit of money because he had just come into the company. He treated us well, bought us tracksuits and uniform and thing, which was nice because they're styling with your all blue and yellow tracksuit. I have to see if I can find it. I think it's around here somewhere. Hey, Uncle Dave, there's this tournament coming up in the States called Brusa, Brazil, USA. They're bringing a team from Brazil. We want to go to that tournament. So I researched the tournament, meet a couple other guys and stuff. So I put together a little marketing package. We got write-ups on all the guys. I designed a t-shirt for the guys and stuff. So look at that. There's the computer and IT and marketing skills. So
I just want to remind the public on that. So it starts now.
So we sent a little thing down together, and Uncle Dave said, well, I'm going to pay, but you guys have to win. You have to be the best. So that was all he had to say. That what started kind of GS in my mind. I mean, everybody will tell you their story differences, but we say we're gonna win. We ain't not about coming and tying and losing. And I remember that losing feeling. No, we came, we won the league. Uncle Dave paid for the tournament, went down to the States, and we get drawn in a semi-pro. It's a semi-pro tournament. You're playing against teams like Tallahassee, which was in the USL back then. They brought a team from South Judas University. I have the papers still to this day. I have to go dig them up. I'll show them to you. And then we played, and we draw against the team in Tallahassee, and then the team from Brazil. We had 3 games to play. So we went now, and they say Canadian players. We're in the hotel and go in the pool, and guys laughing. We were all kind of a fun family together, hazing each other, hanging out, going to the club, all that kind of stuff. So it was a really good trip, all the guys hanging and uniting and stuff, right? But on the football side now, the Brazilians were laughing at us because why? They're Canadian. What did Canadian mean to them? Nothing, Canadian this, Canadian that. So we went in the game now. We dropped licks in the tail, boy. We beat the Brazilians, okay? If you see after that, they started chatting with us, calling us the Canadian Lions, the Canadian Lions. They were shocked. If you see, everybody played to their ability. Man, we're taking shots.
You must have been pumped too, Brazil.
Oh yeah, we were pumped. Getting back then to play a game against some Brazilians. And a lot of guys, they weren't like on a national team, but a lot of guys played for like the university team, and guys would play like maybe some national team under 17, 20, whatever. But they were really good, really talented. So we ended up winning that game, and we got it right up in the paper. And then we won the next game and then tied the next game. So then the overarch, it wasn't to win a tournament or anything. We were just playing for that, like a showcase kind of thing. Yeah. And they ended up writing us a letter. So I have a copy of that letter to this day about how well behaved we were, how professional we were as a GS organization. And that's what kind of kicked us off. So from that, now they invite us back down. And Uncle Dave said, well, if I'm going to pay for you guys for any trips, you must win. Therein started kind of the legacy, what separated GS from a lot of other clubs, because you had to win. So we won the MJ, we won the regional. We had another trip, and then, that's what started it all. So we ended up getting to provincial, and that's when Johnny Williams came in, and then a new era kind of began with Johnny and the winning and bringing different guys in. And I was getting a bit older and kind of got phased out, with the younger guys and new next generation coming in, and they've gone on to be like a real mainstay. But we thank Uncle Dave for that, because Uncle Dave really had a heart for the community and did some things that, that really, helped to put not just GS, but the community, as a community team, guys who are from Scarborough, whether you're black, white, Chinese, Indian, doesn't matter, whatever your background, Asian, whatever the proper correct political term is nowadays,
So
really,
did you
so
all right.
Yeah, so after playing for GS there, and winning, what happened was I ended up getting a job at Centennial College. That was, like I said, 2010. I've been working with Masters for a couple around the same time, and then also I started working with Centennial College, and the team wasn't very good. They get the tail handed to them the first year. We're really bad. So I said, listen, I'm going to go back to my roots and do the same thing my coach did at Windsor. You guys all got to play for my team, right? What team is that? Again, high profile. So I made a team called High Profile, brought together all the kids, went around to a lot of the clubs. None of them wanted to back it because no one cared about senior soccer then. It was always about the youths, whatever. So I created a men's program, started from scratch. GS already had this. I'll start from scratch and win my way up and just build up the program. So that's what I did. And then I also, every year I added another team to it. So I added under 21s that went undefeated for the season.
So was that an academy or just a club you were building, High Profile?
No, I never really looked to build an academy. People called it an academy, but I called it a program. It was a program that I was running out of the club. I just named it as what I called it. People might say it's an academy, whatever. That's fine. But, I think outside the box, the things I do are a bit different. I don't fit into the norm, right? So you could call it whatever you want to call it. But it was really a program under Wexford, and really just helping the kids at the college and also in the community that typically didn't have the same resources. And that's what I was about. So why we were so successful, at the end of the day, I was able to kind of use the college field, the college office space, the college workout.
Yeah, I saw clips of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So using those facilities and those resources along with community parks and stuff, now I'm able to give these kids a same program that they'd get at some of the top programs, training 4 times a week, getting a coach that's certified. I actually sat down with Johnny and those guys and said, listen, I made a proposal pitch to kind of turn GS into that, but that's not the direction they want to go at the time. So I said, okay, that's fine. I'm just going to kind of do it myself. And, I believe that you got to get licenses, and guys are saying, what you get licenses for is a waste of time. I said, no, you have to be certified and you have to be in the system to show you can make change, right? So you still can run your program the way you want to do it, but I think that's a necessary step. So I did that.
Your coaching.
Yeah, that's my coaching started to take off. I did that, and I started getting into licenses and doing my licenses. And now I finally have a Canadian National A license, the highest license in the country. I just got that last year, right? Not a lot of Black coaches have that licensing, but I now have that. So again, back to that point in time, I created my program and I was adding a team every year. So I went on to add, like I said, under 21s, added under 17s, added a second team, added over 35. So I'm building, but I'm operating as a director and bringing other coaches to work around me and underneath me. So every team was becoming really successful and doing well. Every team. Like, so that year.
What's the measuring stick? Competition? Are you going in competition with these teams, or how they're doing well?
Okay, well, if I show the list, I should get the list and read off all. I posted it in
No, whatever. That's fine.
Winning for over 35s, winning Ontario Cup, winning back-to-back national champs. We tried to do it with 3 people. We lost in the quarterfinals down in London. Winning Ontario Cups, getting to Ontario Cup finals, winning the league championship, getting coach of the year, getting rookie of the year, getting players of the year, sending players off for trials with national team trials, sending out players for trials in Germany, sending players for trials in Trinidad, sending players for trials down in Guyana, sending players for trials in Portugal. You know what I mean? Was doing all that as part of the program, just helping the kids, not taking any money, doing it all for free, right? Out of the goodness. And all the players would be charged is the cost of what it costs us to do it. So like $400 for the summer to pay for all the materials and field time and whatever. And I would charge $300-400 for the winter. That's it. And we would train once a week and play. Right? So I mean, there's costs, but I'm not drawing any salary, anything from that. It's not
paying me. You can't go.
Putting it in. And I would run extra training sessions on Saturday for free. We're doing extra all your stuff you see all the guys doing now.
So what happened to that? What happened to that program?
Well, you get older, and you to be honest with you, a lot of that stuff I was doing, I wanted to take to the next level. I want to get to semi-pro, because that started at the time. I had some talks with the person who's running that league, Dino Rossi. That's when CPL was kind of taken off, and I kind of believed in that, but I wanted to get to that level. But again, it's funding, and then Dino Rossi came in and played, and I had a long talk with him about me trying to work with him, but they're out in Milton, and then they started this league called League One. So I always wanted to be a coach in League One. So the program I had was tied into Centennial, and then that's when I went to Markham to go and work with them. They're supposed to coach their boys team. They were supposed to give me 2 teams, but things didn't work out. They ended up giving me 1 girls team. So I took the girls team there and worked with the director there and started working with Markham for a few years. And then was hoping to do a League One, which is what it was all about, trying to tie in the program at Wexford, Markham, and League One with the college as well. So I kind of pioneered that and helped to push that behind the scenes and structure that, whereby my goal was to hopefully be the head coach and then work with, Richard, who was there at Markham as a Black coach, and work with Julian, who was there as another Black coach. So my goal has always been to have us get opportunity. I'm thinking you work at a semi-pro level, not that I'm the decision maker, it's whoever makes decisions, but that was my kind of thought, and have Richard and myself and Julian working together as Black coaches, really developing the community across these 3 clubs. And I thought that if we had the resources and could do that, we would be able to really build something for the community, because a lot of the players graduating out of those clubs would then make it to the semi-pro team and make it further, and we could help them get to higher levels. But for whatever reason, I wasn't the person they chose somebody else. And there's things you always see, unfortunately, they don't give things to our people from our community. It always goes to somebody else for whatever reason, a lot of reasons behind it.
Okay, so you just mentioned within that what you was trying to put together with the 3 of you, with Julian and the other gentleman.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the word Black coaches. So It looked like you end up running or getting an appointment with is Canada Soccer?
Yeah, so part of that was I went back to some people in the community and seeing that it was needed, because we had this discussion. It's not a new discussion. So again, not to get too much story, as I say, story time, I could tell story, but it all started, it's funny because a lot of us were together discussing these needs, even back then when we had these masters teams, because we're all getting older. I had a number of discussions with, Johnny and the guys around, and had discussions with, Gary Bryan, and had discussions with, Rick Titus and a bunch of guys. We were all having discussions, right?
Well, what you're talking about, the discussions, that was like brainstorming. Like you guys talking about this thing that is in your mind and maybe all of their minds, right? So you're talking about it, how that evolved, because I want to know, because you're the point person.
Yes.
And when ideas been tossed back and forth, that goes. So we'll take it slow, because I want to make sure the public understand that you were committed enough with the idea to run with it. So
it's interesting because in 2000, in part of the journey for me is, Rick had come and played for me on my over 35 team. That's Rick Titus. And again, discussions continue even there again, you know what I'm saying? So we ended up winning, like I said, national championship. And, we even had Dero came and played for me in the last year, and Daryl Gomez was on the team. That was the over 35 high profile team.
High profile.
That had won back-to-back national championships for over 35s. So I have all these guys around me, some real talented ballers and guys who know, but we're now getting into that coaching realm and we're not seeing any access. So in that year, specifically 2016, like I said, I've been trying to do some work with whatever, because I couldn't get into the league. So I'd made an association with Windsor, because my old coach, again, you heard my roots earlier from Windsor. I said they're traveling down to Toronto. I know it's not the way the league wants to go, but when they have trouble with players or coaches, whatever, we can affiliate, because I tried to affiliate with other clubs around, but that wasn't working. And people don't want to do that, so it is what it is. But Windsor happened to affiliate with me in my program, so when we come to Toronto and want players, they would be affiliated. So we were able to do that, and I was able to be on the bench a couple games, help out, come out, watch some of the games, and be on the bench and help out because I'm registered. And so the final game of the season, which kind of didn't mean nothing, we had a game which was Windsor against North Miss. And so Rick Titus was the head coach on North Miss side, and there I am, Paul Martin, the coach now for Windsor. So it was the first time two black coaches at a semi-pro level in soccer are coaching against each other. You know what I mean? I mean, they had before that, the only other person I know was Herman was a coach at North Toronto for a year or two, but you're not seeing a lot of black coaches in the league coaching, and you 10, 12, 15 teams, and once again we're not getting the opportunity. So right off the bat, it's funny, me and Rick were discussing that, and in that same discussion there's a picture whereby the photographer who I had taken some pictures. I always used to have my own photography and video. I videotape all the games and whatnot, and we took a picture of us right before the game. We were discussing that, and then after the game we discussed that as well. So as fate would have it, now you fast forward from 2016 to 2020. Rick and I actually started back the conversation. We happened to get reconnected. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we started the conversation early in the year about making a change. And at the same time, the opportunity to get on Canada Soccer Board came up, and I said, well, as we were strategizing it, we said the only way for us to really make change, we can't keep fighting the system or the establishment at the ground level, and we have to take up positions of governance, positions of policy, positions of senior leadership. And so that's where those springboard ideas start to turn into fruition. We started spitballing, and then also had calls with other people. I also started talking with Marcus from Mapola as well. He was heavily involved with the initial discussions and helping us to at least get started, set up. And then we started looking at forming a board. Now, some people say, why this person and that person on the board? But my background is I've sat on 6-7 different community boards over my history, over 20 years. So, I have lots of experience and extension with building boards from scratch, as well as from being on boards. I was also at, around that same time in the summer last year on the board of the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce as well. I stepped down from that because of timing and stuff like that, whatnot. I've sat on the board of Real World Film Festival as one of the subcommittees for doing the web and marketing. I sat on the board of the corporation that ended up forming a media company in Detroit under my same mentor called Encode Media Group. I was on that board as their vice president on the board, overseeing operations and a number of the things with governance and whatnot. I was on the board of Black Film and Video Network. I was on the board of the Canadian Urban Music Association. We had a nationally televised award show that was the equivalent, if not better at the time, of the Junos, right? And I was the marketing director, managing all that for a number of years. That show was nationally televised for 3 years in a row until it kind of went under because of funds and lack of funding and money and stuff like that. So again, I have all this board experience. So when you're creating a board, it's about the skill sets that people have that will fill different areas. You can't have everybody with the same skill set. So we're looking at different people bringing the board and getting it established as we go. Started talking to people in the community to build that up. And Rick was also an initial founder with me as well. But he recently, at the start of this year, stepped down because just time and and family and stuff like that. Hopefully in the future we'll see him re-engage with us again, but at the time he wasn't able to really continue. So we just kind of finalized and finished up
So before you spin on,
yeah.
so based on what you're saying about the Ricky Titus situation, we are hoping that we do not hear any differently, because I'm supporting I'm backing who's there, which is it.
I'm saying that we're always open. We continue to work with people. I'm just saying that he stepped away for now. The door is always open for him to come back, or anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're going to continue to move forward and do stuff we need to do, but we're always open to anybody. I'm just giving some history as to what happened, as you're asking at the time, and how we structured stuff and how stuff came about where we're at today.
And moving forward, where are you now as of today? Because I see you have a lot of information going out, and I don't know if they know who they deal with, but
Yes.
whoever is in the group would know it's not going to be a dull moment. They're going to be fully informed, okay?
Yeah,
so,
sure. I like to make sure people know what's going on, so they can't come back and say, well, people are going to say anyways, but they said this or that or whatever. I make sure people know what's happening. So around that same time, like I said, I had applied for Canada Soccer Board because I really realized we had to make change there. And I looked back at the history, and in studying it, there had only been 2 Black people on the board, and they're both appointed as independent directors. Now, the way boards work, some can be appointed, some can be elected, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at it, we've never had a freely open elected person that represented something. So that means something. People understand. So when I made the claims of what I made about being the first Black person freely elected to the board, some people would say, oh, what are you talking about or whatever? But think about it, 108 years, right? 108 years, right? I think it was in 1912 Canada Soccer started, the soccer institutions have started, and we haven't seen any Black representation. That's kind of ridiculous. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you start to now look across the landscape, and it's not just Canada soccer, it's basketball, it's our society, 1 or 2 Black staff, and so there are 2 Black females. I forget the other one's name, but there was Charmaine Crooks, who'd been on the board, and she's done a lot of firsts and broken down a lot of barriers and a lot of glass ceilings, which is amazing. So I looked at that on the outside, not knowing anybody, and said, hey, I need to be there. And that's just kind of how I am. I see something as a goal and I go after. People think it's impossible. Don't know how you're going to do it. It's impossible. And 5 years later, there you are. And everything I've done.
What I wouldn't say it's a concern, but what's the membership? What's the mandate and the objective of, besides the name is carrying a certain weight of Black identity?
Well, it's more than that, right? And part of it, not to get into it, I won't use the time here. I'll send all the listeners out to see. Part of what we did is there was other groups forming and other coaching groups and stuff like that. And so we, as a collective board, not just myself, but the whole board, I have a really great board around me, which obviously took some time to build, making sure we have representation. We had to have, young, we had to have old, we had to have, somebody that's played at the top level, somebody that's refereeing, somebody that's coaching, somebody that's, administratively, somebody that's finance, somebody that's international. You don't just build a board with everybody the same. We had to take all these pieces and put them together, and which is what we were doing. Not just, like I said, myself. We had an executive committee form, which is the main 5 people, which is
that's why we need to know what the mandate is. If you put all that together,
exactly.
What we expect a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, what's the changes that you're trying to make, or what's the support you're trying to give?
Right. So from that, with the structuring the board, we put together, which I was getting to, an executive summary document. So right now on the website, which doubles because our website's not up, it's going to be up in the next little while, before the end of this month. There's a 20-page document outlining everything from who we are to what our mandate is, to what our goals, to what our vision, to who's the board, to what the board structure is.
You can't give us a short clip of even your personal. We know it's a board of directors, but you're the leader of the group, right?
100%.
All I'm saying is that a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, you personally, we know there's a board. So it's you we interviewing right now.
Sure.
So we just want to know what's your ideal situation, based that you put yourself on the line for this. What your ideal situation would be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from, what would you be comfortable and happy with?
So you have to have a strong structure. First of all, I just hope that we have a strong structure to our organization. If you look at the words behind my head over my shoulder there, the first word is unite. So that's what we're doing. I want to see a united. Think about this. We're forming a coast-to-coast national organization as a Black organization for sports that has representation in every province and every community. I don't think anybody's ever done that before. Now, I haven't checked for sure, but it hasn't been done. So that's part of it, is to show unity, to have us be, whether we agree or not, but to have us be unified in an organization that can speak for us as a community. That's a huge undertaking. And that's amazing that, we're even this far. So that's the first thing, right? And then after that, it's increase, as you see there. What does that mean? It means increase our opportunities and increase where we are. We're not seeing any representation whatsoever at the senior levels of sports and soccer in Canada. That's the first thing. Already, we're starting to see that change already. So people are talking about, well, what did you do and what has your organization done? Well, sometimes it's not so easy to separate yourself from an organization. But personally, back to the point of Canada Soccer, I just broke down a barrier that's existed for over 100 years. That's already done. Boom, there's the increase. On top of that, you become a voice at the table. Not me alone, but those people who work with you and around you, and people who believe in what you're doing, and we're all moving lockstep together. Canada Soccer just voted in another 3 females, another Black female. We now have 3 people, Black representation on the board, and they just voted in Charmaine Crooks as the vice president. She's the first Black and or person of color in a vice president position in a national sports body, holding that position on the board. Look across the Western world for soccer, for FIFA, and you tell me another Black person that's in that kind of role, and you tell me, does the States have it? Does England have it? Does any European country have what we have now in Canada? That's accomplished now, that we have representation. We have, it's up to like 20% Black representation on that board. That just happened this last week. So that took work, not just myself, but the board itself, in Canada Soccer, and what we're doing in the community, all that stuff. So the last point you see there is inspire. We have to inspire the next generation of the next young kids who are not going to say, forget it, it's not worth it, nothing's ever going to change. We heard that a lot in our community because of what we face. I don't blame anybody or put anybody down for that, but I had a bit of that myself. But we have to be positive to say that it's going to change. Now, whatever that change is, whether it's self-determining, we make the change ourselves, or we're part of the system, or whatever happens, we don't know. Only the future will tell. But the goal is to have the next generation be inspired and look up and say, yeah, I can do that. I can be that. Yeah, I can be the national coach of Canada. Has Canada had any coaches of color in any capacity in soccer or any sport, being the national coach?
Well, you can call Stephen Hart that if you want to.
Yeah, of course. Well, I asked the question, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying we haven't had it. I'm asking the question. You guys got to answer it. So now we think about it, how many people have Stephen Hart empowered and inspired? I can tell you, me, I'm here because of that inspiration. I got to meet Stephen personally, got to know him personally, and that's why. But as Stephen says, you say we're red man, you know what I'm saying, right? Black culture, that, right? But at the end of the day, Stephen, he supports us 100%. A lot of guys in the game, they support what we do, and that's what we need our allies and people who are going to support what we're about and what we're trying to do, right? So it's not to say we've never had it. I asked the question. When you look up and you see, and you look around, and even having one person is not good enough. We don't want it to be tokenized. One person comes in and then we don't see another person for the next 10, 20 years. We need to be part of the fabric and part of the landscape. So my overall goal personally, and the goal of our organization, is to see that those changes are made and those changes are successive. There is actual representation. And this falls in line with every other major Black organization right now in the country: Black Opportunity Fund, Black North Initiative, Black Chamber of Commerce, right? Black Fund Foundation. I can go on and on and on. There's so many organizations, because this is not a problem for Canada Soccer or Ontario Soccer or soccer in general. It's a problem of society that we have to solve. And the way to solve it is by making these changes from a governance perspective, from a policy perspective, from a representation perspective, from an organizational perspective. We have to have somebody who advocates for the community and is that voice. We don't have a voice that we can unite and say, well, wait a minute, this is wrong, or we need to change this, or we need to educate people on this. And so right now, Black, white, Indian, Chinese, whatever, like I said, Asian, whatever the background we are, Southeast Asian, whatever term, personal perspective we have to then say, we need to make a change. We need to make it better, not just only for us, for all.
So let me ask you, I still picking around the last question.
Sure.
So now that you went through that, you unite, inspire, and the increase, what is there a pecking order? You did it in a certain sequence. Is that the sequence you intend to go by?
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Exactly that. So when you look at the phases, so our first year to 2 years would be unite. We have to unite not only us, but unite us in terms of representation across the landscape. We have to be united with other organizations. We have to be representative of other organizations. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I've been calling from coast to coast for close to over 8-9 months now, almost any and everybody in the soccer community, and the other people who also, not just myself, but who started out with me as part of that executive committee, we've been making phone calls nonstop across the country to all kinds of people within the soccer community and landscape. Whether those people are here now or not, that's their choice. We're open to any and everybody, and lots of people have been afforded a phone call. And if people haven't, and we miss some people, we still want to get to them. So even up to this day, I'm still getting people referred to me, to join our organization and to talk to about what we're trying to do, because we're trying to make this a national movement and a movement that will serve our community for many, many years to come. So that's the first thing, is getting us to be united.
Oh,
and then
I would think so. I would think once you get that first one, I think the rest would fall in place. So you don't, I don't need the explanation, because once you unite, you'll be easy to be increasing. And once you unite, you'll get the inspiration, because the unity is going to bring all that. So that's why I just wanted to make sure, and so it shouldn't really have a concern. It's just now the little personalities and the commitment.
Well, part of it too is you have to understand. I mean, I'm a big marketing and a study guy from looking at marketing segmentation. Not everybody's going to want to come in or be a part at the same level. That's why we created a board structure that's kind of unique. We have an advisory board, we have an elders board, right? So people who can't put in as much time, who any organization, you have your executive committee does most of your work, then you hire an operational staff. We're not there yet. Hopefully, once we get to the point of having some income, we can hire an operational staff, right? But right now the operational staff is basically our executive committee. And then outside that, we have our full board. But on top of that, we have, like I said, an advisory committee that I talk to people on an ongoing basis. And then we're going to meet once a year, twice a year, having a big, huge town hall meeting with those advisors, giving us direction we should go in, how we can make change, how they can help influence, how they can help advise. That's their role. We also have, like I said, an elders board, respecting those who are elders. We pull together, we'll sit down, listen to them. Guys who've been in the community doing soccer for 25 and 30 years, they still have a voice as well. If they want to come on the board, they can, but again, it's filling the needs and the positions. And a lot of the gentlemen who have put a lot of time in, they're more elder in their years. We're not ignoring them. Like I said, we're actually recognizing them and meeting with them. And sometimes I have one-to-ones, but we're going to have a bigger town hall coming up this summer. That's the timeline for it, which was already set out in the document. We have set the timelines for all we're going to do long ago last year in the summer, and we're just executing it now. A couple of things are a bit behind, a couple of things we're ahead, but all the things we planned, such as our conference, we have a big conference coming up to engage Black females in the sport called Women to the Forefront. That's going to be a huge international conference with over 30 speakers that will take place in June. It was originally to take place actually this week in April, but we had some issues that we had to just postpone it a bit. But we're ramping up now, reconfirming all our speakers. 98% of speakers have all reconfirmed. And then we're looking to get a few more sponsors and sponsorship, and we'll push that event out. That event is specifically to try and drive more Black females in and around the game, which we know is a challenge. We don't see that. We're very patriarchal and heavily male dominated. So we want to address that. We can't come out doing the same things we've seen done to our own community in other auspices of the system. So we're addressing that as part of the overall plan. And we had a showcase league that we ran last year as well. We'll be doing some coaching development. We'll be coming out soon within the next month. We'll be doing some mentorship, and we'll be doing some webinars as well. So what you're seeing now is you're starting to see that initial media, marketing push, doing these interviews such as yourself. I thank you so much for having us come on.
I mean, ask you this. Based on all this, because I know you can go on, you're full with information. Is this basically what you into right now? Is this it in terms of, or there's your 9 to 5? Is this passion? Is this vision? What is this?
It's passion and vision. It's passion and vision. It's not my 9 to 5. I have a 9 to 5. I'm still a professor. I still teach, and in any capacity I can, that's what I love to do. For me, it's about right now teaching. That's really my love. Doesn't matter what I teach. I love to just help to inform the community, because I think that's where our real differentiator is. It helps make people better. And I don't want to be running this organization for 20 years. We've seen too much of that already in a lot of our sports community. I want to see the next young generation in 5 to 10 years come take this over, and then I'll take my rightful spot as a elder, right? So I'm a firm believer in succession planning, training up the next generation. And that's what I'm looking forward to, hopefully seeing these young guys. We have a large community of young guys coming up in the game and also achieving a lot of stuff. They can't play forever. And if you study the demographics of the Black community, right now in Canada, the fastest and biggest growing area are Brampton and Ajax, right? and we're seeing that growing very fast. And on top of that, our demographics across the country, the average age in Canada is like late 30s to early 40s, right? And our community, our bulk of our population, our fastest growing sector is actually 22 to 28, right? So this young group, which is our large group, will be moving into positions soon, and we'll be looking for opportunity, and they need guidance, they need opportunity, they need to be inspired, all the things that you see, like we said, they stand for. So for me, Midget, I think, my role is going to be helping to really direct that next generation so that they can take up these positions that we were never able really to get because of systemic reasons,
Yeah. Well, okay, Paul, thanks for giving the information so that the public would understand even better with all the press conferences you're doing, a little better what Black Coaches of Canada is all about, and wish you success. And I hope the Unite comes a lot earlier than a 2-3 year plan. Seem to be going okay so far, and I see you're doing your job. You're sending out all the information. So again, I wish you all the best.
Thank you. I'll leave you with the last word. I ask anybody out there in the sporting community, whether you're a player, whether you're a referee, whether you're a coach, whether you're an administrator, we have an open door. Come on the site, register. We have an initial survey. Yes, it's targeted soccer heavily, but our goal is to expand past soccer. We do have other members that are not soccer members, but we started in that community because that's where we have our strength in numbers. And that's one of the biggest participation sports, but we are inclusive across the board. So at the end of the day, I'm asking people, putting out there to just register so that you can be part of our organization. It's free, and we're hoping to provide and prove that membership has value and also privileges. As I say, membership has its privileges. So just go to the website, and there's a registration form there. And there's also a document there explaining what we're about. And our website will be up soon, but we're now in the space of just moving, like you said, to do press conferences and to really inform people what we're about. So thank you so much.
The website will be, what's the website?
The website is blackcoaches.ca. So hopefully you guys can just go there and they can check it out. And like I said, not much there, but the document that's there will inform you of everything, and we can go from there. And the next couple of weeks will be up. So once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to really speak to the Caribbean community through all the work that you've done. And I've seen you work throughout the years, and I have to commend you on the work that you've done, Midget, and also the work you're doing right now. It's great to see, and this is what we need. Hopefully we'll have you continue to document our progress along the way as we continue to build bridges, and also build an infrastructure that sees us really be successful in the future.
Yeah, well, we worked together before, and that will be easy. All right, so once we stay in touch, that's not a problem. All right, so you take care and stay safe.
Okay, thank you so much. You too.
All right, okay.
All the best.